Don't lead from the stuff that you haven't dealt with. We want to talk about the stuff that doesn't happen in meetings or in team huddles, the part where you're carrying things that nobody else sees. Maybe you're frustrated, maybe you're burnt out, maybe you've got something personal going on. Maybe you're questioning if this whole thing is even worth it some days. I know I've been there a million times. That's real. Your team doesn't need you to be perfect. Let me put it that way. But what they do need is for you to lead from a place that is steady as often as possible, not from whatever's been sitting heavy on you for weeks or months, maybe even years. This isn't about faking it till you make it. We're going to say that over and over. This is about processing what is yours so you don't build a culture around your baggage. We coach owners to have a behind the scenes outlet, whether that is a weekly leadership voice note that you record for yourself to track what's bothering you. This is actually something that I do. Or maybe it's a 10-minute standing check-in with your coach or your mentor. It's about giving yourself space to lead through the emotion before it bleeds into the way that you talk to people, the way that you make decisions, the way that you avoid conversations. When you lead from resentment, burnout, anxiety that you haven't worked through, it doesn't just weigh you down. It's going to slow your whole team and your whole business down. So the shift here is really simple. Don't ignore it. Don't dump it. Deal with it quietly, privately, and then lead forward. All right, Chandra, you and I have both been through this, and we've seen what happens when an owner doesn't deal with what they're carrying. What is one way that you've seen someone maybe get back in control of their leadership energy behind the scenes? And how did that impact their team and their business?
I guess kind of from personal experience and from like actually someone that we've worked with that I kind of watched her do this transformation was, I think when you get in that place and you start leading from that resentment place or that, like, for example, when we were working with somebody and she didn't want to reward any of her team because she was like, I don't want to reward them because they don't care and they don't this and that. And she's coming from that place of like hurt because she's been burned by employees in the past and doesn't want to give that, so then she could never understand why the team wouldn't get behind anything, didn't want to try when they would do contests or do things like that. And so I think one of the biggest things for making that shift was really helping her. And, I've done this with myself too, understand like, you're going to have stuff. There's always going to be stuff. You're always going to have employees that are always going to do what you don't want them to do. Like that we work with people. There's always going to be something. But if you can learn how to separate those things, like when you're feeling that way and putting that aside, like I will write things down. Like, why am I feeling like this? Okay, what is my goal? Why is this derailing me? How do I get back on track? Right? Like really focusing on what the bigger picture is for me always works. And I think we kind of did that with her, and that seemed to snap her out of that space where now she's very excited with her team members. They're all thriving and things are going really well because now she's leading from that place of not that resentment place anymore. Just kind of knowing like, this is what we're doing here. This is our goals. This is who we are. We have to keep that top of mind, and whatever I'm dealing with on the other side, I have to deal with it and I have to handle it, but I have to separate these two things so that they're not getting intertwined and then I'm walking around screaming at everybody. So hopefully that answers it. But I think if you can learn how to separate that and deal with your stuff, but keep your main purpose top of mind when you walk into the business or when you're trying to deal with employee issues or things within the business, makes it a lot easier than trying to pile everything on top of each other.
And I think that's why it is so important to have a support system of a community, right? A mentor, a coach, somebody. I mean, even you and I, like we are kind of that for each other in our businesses and kind of in our personal lives, but it's really, really important. One of the biggest lessons that I learned, and I know that you agree with me because we've talked about this, is you don't want your spouse or your partner to be that person, because then everything gets carried home. You really need a community of like-minded individuals that you can kind of figure out what's going on with yourself. Yes, ask yourself, but you also need somebody to help work through it with. And I think that's really, really important.